We've raised 8 million in total. Very happy to have some amazing VCs and angels on board. So you need to be very good at selecting very good people, giving them a lot of responsibility and letting them run with it. I think it's always the big ask yourself, how can you be improving things and constantly try to iterate on everything. You should become very obsessed with problems and not solutions.
Today on the show, I'm happy to have Daniel Lenton, CEO of Unify. They combine multiple AI models for better responses from every prompt. So Daniel, you just finished raising some money for this venture. How much have you raised now?
We've raised 8 million in total. Very happy to have some amazing VCs and angels on board and diving back into the code. Yeah.
And when did you actually form the company?
Company was formed beginning of 2022. So kind of January 20, it was myself for a while in the beginning then. But yeah, been going for just over 2 years now.
And how many employees do you have running the office?
Right now there's 8 of us. So quite a lean team, all kind of ninja engineers, I would say. So team of engineers and one great designer, and deliberately keeping things quite lean for now.
Excellent. Now I'm excited. We're going to get into today a couple of things about giving your team full ownership as well as building an open source community. So
Sure.
Let's start with building the community. That's always important with any business. So how are you approaching?
So there's a few things we're doing there. I think one of the most important we're doing right now is we run this contributor program whereby anybody can apply. We select maybe the top 20 or 30% of applicants based on the prior experience in LLMs and so on. And then they join this program and we then have various tasks building on top of Unify, doing various kind of LLM challenges relating to Llama Index and LangChain, building RAG applications, building chatbots and these web applications and so on. And we have a sync every day that the contributors are able to join. We have a reading group every week. We have a webinar every week. So we deliberately try to foster a sense of community. We try to keep quite an open door for people who are getting into LLM for the first time and want to learn. And we try to just, did I say that? And that's mutually beneficial because members on our team work with the contributors that join to get them up to speed. We benefit from people using the platform, giving us feedback, knowing what they think is cool for us to work on. But it seems to be quite a mutually beneficial thing. And that's certainly helped with the community growing effect for us so far.
Are the users of this business owners or are we targeting individuals?
Great question. So the thing is, it can be used in a few different ways. We found the core ICP in terms of the main value that we provide is predominantly companies which have already built some LLM application and are now looking to take more control, either by reducing the cost, improving the speed, or pushing the performance further. And what Unify can do, either through dynamic routing or looking to the future by doing kind of prompt optimization automatically, is to basically give much more control for people to control the speed, quality, cost profile. And that's more interesting and more of a pain point for people that already have a system that's working and now they want to scale this up. Obviously, when you're first tinkering with the LLMs, you can just get started with GPT-4, LangChain and Llama Index. Having said that, we have found people that are just getting started that actually are quite overwhelmed. They don't know what model to use. They don't know how many accounts to create, and it's quite overwhelming. So we provide the most value with tech of routing for slightly more sophisticated users. But there's another group of users that just find the single sign-on benefit very helpful, where they don't need to create another account. They have all models all provided, and benchmark them all and get started with some really simple getting started guides. And that's more where the contributors fit in. So the contributors are slightly more typically more beginners, that's the community aspect more. And then the heavy hitters and the heavy users typically are slightly more sophisticated companies.
Now, I know you're a big proponent of delegation and giving your team full ownership. So how does that play out in your business?
So I guess this is something I've learned along the way. So I think at the beginning, I was quite prescriptive and I was quite structured in terms of these are the tasks that need to be done, I could find these tasks to everybody and so on. And actually the company started that with, so I'm a sole founder, not by choice, by the way the cards have fallen, which means obviously a lot of decisions to be made. And I just found it incredibly useful to really, if you've got great people on the team, decisions should be pretty democratic. One thing, it's a bit different to what you're bringing up, but I just want to first say that I think the more ownership that you can give everybody on the team and the more democratic and the more that you can openly discuss the big open questions about the direction of the company in a very inclusive way, the better. Because you end up coming to better decisions because more brains together lead to better coverage of all the considerations than one alone could manage. It gives everybody more investment and buy-in into the journey of the company. Because everybody has been a tangible part of coming up with direction and coming up with the next steps. In terms of ownership, I think there's a bigger risk that you try to micromanage too many things as an individual, and you need to make every micro decision because you need to become the bottleneck to any progress, if that's the way you think about things. So you need to be very good at selecting very good people, giving them a lot of responsibility and letting them run with it. That's really important. And this generally is the philosophy I've taken. Now, in fairness, I think right now I may have taken that a little bit too far, even to the extent that over the last few months, specifically as the CEO, I found myself doing a lot of sales calls, a lot of kind of general user discovery calls, and just meeting 10 people every day. And like my calendar's totally full. And I have noticed myself flipping away from like the low level. And I think that's also not great. I think it's not about micromanaging people, inserting myself into processes or taking ownership away. But I think it's also important to, as a founder, try to stay close to the meta that you can and not let yourself lose sight of what the real pain points people are facing. If you're building a developer tool, you should be continuing to keep your skills sharp when actually building an application and not let yourself get too detached from that. It's something that I think I'm trying to continually improve and refine.
So you actually thinking about getting back into the weeds and looking at the code again?
Yeah, definitely. I actually, so we had a discussion with the whole team about things, because every week we try to take what was the largest principal component where we can improve things. There's all kinds of ways you can improve the whole process all the time. There's no company in the world that couldn't improve something. So we're always saying, what the biggest thing would improve things? Would it be to focus more on the KPIs? Would it be to talk to more customers? Would it be to do this? The biggest principal component in the last meeting was that people would find it useful if I was a little bit deeper in the code. And not in so much as me holding things, but more just to make sure that my own intuition remains as sharp as it possibly can about what the big problems are. And I think that's a very good point. It's something that actually other people on the team brought up. I totally agree. And so this weekend, I'll be diving into some LLM code stuff. I think it's always the big ask yourself, how can you be improving things and constantly try to iterate on everything and keep improving every aspect of the company.
Yeah, so as a person who's constantly iterating, you had to make a pivot. This is more your failing to success story here, where you had to change the scheme a bit. So what happened there?
Yes. So when we founded the company in 2022, we were originally solving quite a different problem, which was basically to unify all of the Python machine learning framework. So there's kind of PyTorch, there's TensorFlow, there's Java, etc. Something that YC really drove in is that you could fall into the trap of kind of building a solution search for problem. They call it a step. And I think there was an element of us doing that. Like we were building this kind of grand vision for a framework to find every single existing framework so you can convert between them and so on. And that did resonate with thousands of people. We got 14,000 stars on GitHub. We got 20,000 members in the Discord. We had a lot of users at universities that were using this to combine PyTorch and TensorFlow, etc. One signal that we were probably a little bit slow to pick up on was the fact that PyTorch was becoming increasingly strong, and actually TensorFlow and Jack, while still being used at Google and everything, were becoming less commonly used. And some of the companies that were most interested in using it were thinking about transitioning to PyTorch and so on. So I think the landscape changed quite a lot, and we'd become quite obsessed with getting this problem fixed as quickly as we can. So it hired quite a lot of people as well. Like this was the solution. This is what the company's building. And the sooner we get it built, the better. And I think more recently, I've inverted my thinking in the relatively standardized way. I think as a first time founder, the one or two pitfalls I fell into a little bit. One of which is you should become very obsessed with problems and not solutions, and obviously continuing to talk to as many people as possible that are using what you've built and have problems, and making sure that you stay very grounded, particularly in a fast moving field like AI, where the problems of 6 months ago may no longer exist. I think it's quite important to keep yourself plugged into that stream so you never stop talking to potential users or actual users. And I think we probably weren't aligning with that signal strongly enough. It was a bit like, we've got a solution, we're going to build it. I realized I don't think it's actually going to become the massive company that we're building up for it to be. I think this problem is partly going to solve itself. Not everywhere, but just the side of the market where it won't solve itself is not as big as it appeared it would be. And therefore we can build something for a very small market. But I've always been I want to have the biggest positive impact I can. I'm more interested in trying to build something really broadly useful. And I guess like building something that's a bit more niche is not a problem, but it's just not really what got me, really excited every day. And I saw that there was a new wave of real big problems in the LLM landscape. And that's what triggered the pivot. Yeah, definitely a difficult period in there company's history in so much as we shrank the team quite a lot, had a lot of very difficult decisions, a lot of very difficult conversations with people that had done nothing but exceptional work. We had to let a lot of people go, all of whom had put their heart and soul into the company, done amazing work. And that was obviously quite difficult for me. I'm smiling, just, like it was definitely difficult to do. But we're on very good terms. Of course, with every case, I try to put me in contact with new employers and do everything I can to make sure everyone has a smooth offboarding and goes on to do other great things. But I guess it's part and parcel of building a company that things are never a smooth straight road. Certainly not been a smooth straight road for us so far, but yeah, on a good path now.
Yeah, if it was easy, everybody would own businesses and raise capital.
That's true.
If any of our listeners wanted to learn more about Unify or get in touch, how could they do so?
So the best way is to go onto our Discord. So if you go to unify.ai and then you go on to company, then social, and join the Discord, that's the best place. Personally, my email remains open. I might take a few days to respond sometimes when we get a lot through, but dan@unify.ai is an email that I'm responsive to. If you go onto our website at unify.ai, there's a button that just says talk to us, and that is the Calendly link where you can grab a 15-minute slot and talk to myself or someone on the team. Normally myself, actually. So I'm always all ears to hear feedback on what we're doing. So we try to have quite an open door policy. So lots of ways to get in touch. Yeah.
Thank you, Daniel, for coming on the show, and everybody for listening to another episode of Failing Success. If you like the show, make sure to subscribe. I'm your host, Chad Kalecki, and we'll see you next time.